You're driving your kid to school, just like any other repetitive day of your life. Then he asks you one day, Dad, why do I need to go to school? That's okay. You expected he would ask that question eventually. You say, to learn. Then he asks, Well, why do I need to learn? To get a job, you say. You think it's over, but then he hits you with the next question. Why do I need a job? You say, to earn money. You know his next question. Why do I need money? It's at this moment that you seriously consider driving this car off of a cliff. To buy stuff. Uh, why do I need to buy stuff? To freaking live! He then says, Well, why do I need to live? You almost follow through on driving off of a cliff. This 6-year-old boy is nearly succeeding you to give you an existential crisis. But after thinking for some time, you say, To support a family. Good job. You averted a potential existential crisis and also preserved your sanity. Why do I need a family? To have kids. Why do I need kids? So you can send them to school to learn again. Why do I? Jesus Christ, Johnny, let me drive! Why? It's the question that makes toddlers insufferable and philosophers unemployed. It's the word that turns a perfectly good scientific discussion into an unwinnable debate of people saying the Big Bang was a myth and the universe is the dream of a massive heart. Yes, this is one of those videos. And if we really are going to do one of these videos, we have to start with the only thing in this dumpster fire of reality that is currently undeniably and provably happening. You. Think about your life. You believe you're watching a video. You believe you're sitting in a chair. You believe that if you watch this video long enough, that one assignment due tomorrow is just gonna go away. It's not. All of this is just data. If you were a brain floating in some liquid and hooked up to a giant supercomputer in the year 3000, your life would feel exactly like this. The chair would still feel solid, the assignment would still be due tomorrow, no matter how much you ignore it. In that scenario, the world is a lie. The thing is, though, even if everything you see, everything you feel, everything you hear, everything else covered by your five senses is a lie, all just created electrical signals by some demon or some supercomputer, there still has to be something to be gaslighted. So there's this cool guy called Rene Descartes. He used a similar line of reasoning, except this time using a malicious demon instead of a supercomputer in the year 3000. He imagined that if this malicious demon was dedicated to gaslighting him about the very nature of reality, as in every time he thought he saw something, it could be that the demon was just manipulating his brain, manipulating electrical signals in his neurons into tricking him that he's seeing something. If you say the sentence, I am watching this video, you can doubt that. You have no idea whether you're actually watching the video or the video doesn't exist or the device you're watching the video on doesn't exist. You have no proof. Then he thought, is there a way for the demon to gaslight into thinking he didn't exist? What if he didn't exist? What if you don't exist? What if I don't exist? Well, the thing is, that's a physical contradiction. Why? Let's take the sentence, I can see myself. Well, the thing is, you could not be able to see. It's easy to doubt that. You can't see. The demon might be tricking your conscious into thinking that you can see. It might be manipulating electrical signals in your neurons again, into creating sensory information of your eyes. But then again, let's say we have the sentence, I am thinking. Well, let's say we try doubting I am thinking. I doubt that I am thinking. Problem is, doubting is a form of thinking. So by doubting the fact that you're thinking, you are thinking. By definition, by doubting that you're thinking, you are thinking. That means you exist. The sentence I am thinking contains I am. You are. You exist. You're the only thing in this entire situation that actually isn't a maybe. It's a physical contradiction for you to be conscious and yet not exist. You exist, frankly, because you don't have a choice. And that's where the sentence, I think, therefore I am, came from. So you're real. Congratulations. But why is the rest of this stuff here? Why am I here? If you exist, why do I need to be here? Why isn't there just a vast, peaceful, empty void where we don't have to worry about tomorrow's assignment or life in general? In unemployment philosophy, we talk about contingency. Contingent thing basically is a thing that requires another thing for it to exist. For example, the assignment you have tomorrow required a teacher to assign it. The teacher required his parents in order to exist. His parents required her parents to exist. The entirety line of that lineage required the Earth to have natural resources for them to even live in the first place. The Earth required galaxy to form. The galaxy, it goes on and on and on. Eventually, you're always going to reach a Big Bang. Everything is leaning on something else, just like a bunch of drunk friends leaving a bar at 2 a.m. What happened before the Big Bang? Was there another universe? Maybe that universe started from another Big Bang and then slowly lost its momentum from the expansion of the universe. Then the force of gravity pulled everything together again into a tiny, minute point with all of the mass of the universe. And from that point, there was another Big Bang which created this universe. Maybe this process continues forever backwards. The universe was always there. It was just in a cycle of expansion, collapse, expansion, collapse. But then again, logic says a chain of leaning things can't go back forever. If every single thing in the universe needs a parent, who's the first parent? You can have an infinite line of dominoes. Someone has to push the first one. Here we have two options. One, the first cause argument. People say that there was a first uncaused cause. We don't have to call it a guy with a white beard who lives upstairs and call it God. We just call it the logical floor. There is some entity that exists outside of time, outside of the universe, that may or may not have a will, that caused the universe to happen. It doesn't have a creator, it doesn't have a why, and it doesn't need a permit to exist. It is literally the ultimate because I said so of the universe. You question this thing is basically nonsensical. There is another option though. You don't have to believe that there is some creator that created this universe. Here's a thought. We know that something cannot come from nothing. The thing is, that axiom is also a something. The sentence, something cannot come from nothing, the law that something cannot come from nothing, is a thing. So if there was originally nothing, the axiom wouldn't exist. That means there's nothing stopping something from coming from nothing. It's quite the entertaining thought. Of course, it's completely useless in today's world. That's why philosophers are unemployed. The point is that there could have been nothing, and something could have just happened. There's nothing stopping something from not coming from nothing because that original axiom does not exist. We know you exist. We know whatever the universe is, be it a simulation, a dream, or whatever, exists to you. What do we do now? Why should I keep existing? Humans are creatures fundamentally driven by meaning. They crave it. They need it. The thing is, the universe really doesn't care about you. You want meaning, the universe is pretty apathetic about that. You have three options in this situation. You just refuse to exist, or oof yourself in a fiery spiral of nihilism. Don't do that. Join a religion. Pretty solid option, but don't be too smug about it. Don't try to argue with other people who actually are smarter than you. Or absurdism. So there was this other cool dude called Albert Camus. Essentially, he argued that humans are meaning-seeking missiles trapped in a meaning-blind universe. We want stars to tell our destiny. The thing is, stars are just a bunch of fiery balls of gas that have no idea we are even here. We cry out to the cosmos asking for a sign, and the cosmos respond by that assignment you have due tomorrow. This gap, Albert Camus thought, between our desperate need for reason and the universe's total lack of one is called the absurd. So you could refuse to play this absurd game. Again, don't. The absurdist, when faced with the dark abyss of despair staring at him, stares back. They don't live for meaning, they live in spite of it. The universe is not going to give you reason. The universe not giving you a reason for being is interpreted as basically playing a game with no rules. You don't need to exist for anything. You can just exist because you can. If you ever get tired of this cosmic zoo that guy upstairs created for his own amusement, just don't. Live because you can. Love because you can. Why should you be? Because existing in a universe that doesn't care that you exist is not accepting defeat. Every time you enjoy procrastinating tomorrow's assignment, you're winning a fight against the void. You aren't a cog in the machine, you're the one breaking the machine. You should stay alive just to see what happens next. Why should you exist? Well, why not? You hear that, Johnny? Why do we need to go to school? Why not? Why shouldn't you go to school? Take that, you little You've no doubt heard by now the famous line, one must imagine Sisyphus happy. The thing is though, 90% of the people who said that sentence have no idea what it actually means or where it came from. They just saw it in a random Instagram reel and decided to comment it anywhere. The thing is, this line came again from Camus, the absurdist guy. Basically, before we cover that, we have to go through the myth of Sisyphus in a very grossly simplified nutshell, because the specifics aren't too important. There's this king called Sisyphus. He did a lot of bad shit. Again, a gross understatement, but still. Because of that, when he went to the underworld, when he died, he got punished by Hades in a very seemingly useless task that was meant to torture him for all of eternity. His task was to roll a boulder all the way up a giant mountain. Then once it reached the top, it rolled all the way back down. And then he had to keep rolling it up the mountain, watch it fall all the way back down, and then keep doing it without fail. Now, what Camus thought was that this is also quite similar to human search for meaning. We keep looking for meaning, and then eventually when we get close, we just get an even bigger question why, and then it goes all the way back down again. We have another existential crisis and seriously consider driving off of a cliff again. But then, Camus thought, one must imagine Sisyphus happy. He thought that even though Sisyphus is doing something so physically and mentally draining, even though he's doing something so fundamentally useless, that the fact that he should be mentally crying, he should be going insane, he's still happy. He's still happy that the fact he's doing it. Maybe he found some other way to occupy the time. Maybe he named the rock Johnny. Maybe he counted the cracks inside of the boulder. He did something. He's happy because he's still winning against the punishment by being happy. He stays happy. He feels satisfied even though whatever he's doing is completely useless because he's still doing it. And maybe we should do the same thing in our own lives. We keep looking for meaning. We need, why do we exist? Why do I need to go to school? Why do I need to... I'm looking at you, Johnny. That's the philosophy behind one must imagine Sisyphus happy. What if the question is fundamentally nonsensical? Just because it's a question doesn't mean it has an answer. If I met you one day at the park, run up to your face, and ask you stupidly, what does the color blue smell like? Your first reaction would probably be like, huh? Your second reaction would probably be calling the nearest mental asylum. I mean, it's a question, it's grammatically correct. What does the color blue smell like? But like what? It's just nonsense. Now, if we apply this reasoning for the fundamental question, just why do we exist? Why does anything exist? Maybe that's the same. Maybe it's wrong to ask that. So, at the end of all of this, we found the why, mostly. You exist because it's logically impossible for you not to. You don't have a choice. The world exists because something had to start the dumpster fire, or it just started on its own accord because it wanted to. And you stay here because you can. Then again, we know why things are, but like, what are they? We've been assuming that a table is a thing, that you are a person, that everything exists. But then, like, what is a table? What is a person? What is a thing? I'm sorry, I fit too many existential crises in this video. I'll discuss that in a different video. I'll see you in the next one. And finish that assignment.